Hi, my name's Ashley. I'm 18. Seems like I'm just a normal girl. I study at the university, play sports, hang out with friends, but I have a secret. It's very personal. Usually, such secrets aren't even shared with close friends. But what if some girl finds herself in the same situation? Like me, maybe my story will help someone and save someone from making mistakes. Everyone knows that the very first time happens only once in a girl's life. But for me, it happened that I already had two of them, and maybe there'll be more to come. How did it happen? So, this is what I'm about to tell you now. It all started when I was 15. Me and my friends thought 15 was the coolest age in life ever. We threw parties secretly from our parents, skipped school, and escaped out of the house at night to hang out. Anyway, we had a great time. And next to our school, there was a technical college, and mostly boys studied there. We often saw them in the coffee shop nearby, located exactly between our buildings. Me and the girls immediately noticed a group of 3 guys. At first, we just looked at each other. Then we started saying hello every time we met. One day the guys sat down at our table to meet us. We started hanging out together a lot. Walking, going to movie theaters, hanging out at parties, playing computer games. I liked Max the best of the group. He was tall, handsome, and so mature. Anyway, any girl's dream. Over time, I noticed he paid more attention to me than to the other girls. He treated me to a cafe. Well, he started this game. When Max invited me for a walk, just the two of us, I was over the moon. It's a date, right? I thought then. And yes, that it was. We walked for a long time. He walked me home, and I gave him my first kiss. We started dating. I was so happy. I didn't tell my parents I had a boyfriend. They're just very strict and conservative. In their opinion, at 15, I should have focused on my studies, only to enter a good university. When it came to my friends and parties, all the conversations always ended up in scandals, shouting, and quarrels. I hate to think what would happen if I told them I had a boyfriend, so I didn't say anything. My relationship with Max was rapidly developing. This was my first experience, so I didn't know what was right or wrong and just followed my boyfriend. Since he was older, and he already had girls before me, over time, I started noticing kissing wasn't enough for him. Max wanted to be closer. So more often, instead of walking, we stayed at his home to be together and do what couples usually do. Once he asked me to stay overnight with him, and then I realized this is the night my first time will happen. I lied to my mom I was staying with a friend of mine, and she let me go, grumbling. I was very worried. I read a lot of information on the internet about how it should be, whether it hurts when you have your first time, what it takes to be prepared, and so on. Fortunately, Max had experience in this, so he promised me everything would be just fine, and he didn't cheat me. He cooked a romantic dinner, confessed he was in love with me, and anyway, it happened. In the morning, I woke up so happy, lying in the arms of my beloved one. But this happiness didn't last long. I hadn't even woken up when Max said it was time for me to leave because his parents would be back soon, and it wasn't a good time to meet them. I must admit I had hoped for a slightly different morning after such a night, but meeting his parents wasn't part of my plans. I didn't tell anyone that my relationship with Max had reached a new level. My friends might have told someone else about it, but my mom? Well, it was scary to even think about it. And then something strange started happening. Max didn't respond to my messages, ignored my calls, only said he was busy, and didn't show up when we all hung out. I was very worried, and then I saw him on the street walking with another girl. They walked hand in hand, and obviously they were more than just friends. After that, he couldn't get out of it, and said his feelings for me were gone, and we should break up. It was very unexpected and painful. I cried at night, trying not to show my condition to my parents, but they still noticed my depressed state, black eyes and lack of appetite. My mom insisted that I get a full checkup because she was worried about my health. I didn't resist, but if I knew what the consequences would be, Anyway, the gynecologist ordered tests and examinations that are only prescribed to girls who have already had intimacy with guys. At first, my mom thought that there'd been some sort of mistake, and she started arguing with the doctor. But she left the doctor's office deadly pale. Without saying a word, she nodded at me and we went home. I knew I was going to have a terrible scandal at home. My mom screamed and cried. My dad almost tore his hair out. They said I had shamed them, shamed the family, that they had brought me up so bad, and that all this was the result of my communication with my friends. Anyway, that day I heard a lot of pleasant things about myself. I was put under home arrest and banned from going anywhere other than school. My parents barely spoke to me. A couple of days later, my mom put a pamphlet from the medical center on my desk and told me she had signed me up for an operation, hymenoplasty, or surgical innocence restoration. I didn't know they did such things, but it would restore a more or less good relationship with my parents, so I agreed. I had no objections for the operation, and we set a date. The doctors convinced me the operation is safe and would not harm my health in any way. Everything really went well, and I became a girl again. I talked to my mom. I told her everything honestly about Max, and only after that, our relationship started to melt a little. Of course, after such a bad experience, I no longer thought about relationships and focused on studying. I graduated from high school with honors, and I went to study at the university in a city nearby. Of course, it was hard for my parents to let me leave my home, but their desire to give me a good education was stronger. I quickly got used to the student's dorm, to new acquaintances, and immersed myself into my studies. And then Mark came into my life. He was the president of the student society of our faculty, a handsome, excellent student, and an athlete. You know, there are such stars in every university. They're always followed by a crowd of fangirls in love. They are praised by teachers, and all the guys dream of being friends with them. I have no idea how or why I attracted his attention, but at one of the student parties, he came up to me and asked me to dance. I thought it was time to forget about the situation with Max and move on. I couldn't be alone forever. Mark immediately told me about his intentions. He invited me on a date and suggested we become a couple. I decided to give it a try. The girls in my class shook their heads when they found out that me and Mark were dating. They'd heard from the girls in high school that Mark collected girls and changed them like gloves, even several at a time. Was I unlucky again? I thought so. But on the contrary to what everyone was saying, Mark was very attentive and caring to me. He always helped me, gave me some flowers and gifts. I fell in love and stopped paying attention to the conversations behind my back. Maybe they're just jealous of me. When I realized that it was getting close again, I started thinking, last time it didn't end up well for me. But Mark was different. He's obviously serious about us. And he even said he wants to go to my parents' house one weekend to meet them. Anyway, my feelings won over the voice of common sense, and my first time happened. I didn't tell Mark I had an operation, and he didn't need to know anyway. I was very afraid of the morning after a night together, but even then Mark pleased me. He took care of me, hugged me, and kissed me. My fears were gone. But a couple of months later, the same scenario repeated. Ignoring messages, constant business at school, in the family, part-time job, and then an unpleasant meeting with him and his new girlfriend at a party when I accidentally caught them kissing in someone's kitchen. I cried and couldn't believe it had happened to me again. And then suddenly, I was afraid, what if my parents found out I had made a mistake again and lost my innocence? They could take me back to my hometown. And not only will I miss my education, but I will lose their trust and respect forever. I thought about it for a long time, and in the end, I decided not to tell them anything. For almost 6 months, I worked in several places at once, collected the necessary amount of money, and went to the clinic to have this hymenoplasty again. Everything went well, and without any bad consequences. But now it seems to me that after my 2 unsuccessful first times, my new first time will not be soon at all, because I got completely disappointed in guys and relationships. Maybe it'll take 6 months or a couple of years. and I will forget it all. But for now, I'm sure I don't need any relationships. What would you do if you were me? Would you do the operation for a second time, out of fear of your parents, or not? Write your answers and opinions in the comments below this video. I will be happy if you like this story, and subscribe to our channel. Besides, don't forget to turn on notifications so that you don't miss the new stories. See you soon. Bye-bye.